Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is another podcast. Hopefully my battery lasts all the way home. This is a podcast where I talk about random topics while I drive. Unfortunately you will hear horrible noises apparently. I heard one of my podcasts the other day and there was, nearly died. There we go. There was a lot of wind in the background, so that's great to hear. I'm sure you'll love that blasting in your ears. Yes. So, there is a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do swear profusely and I enjoy it thoroughly, so I'm not going to back down on that anytime soon. I also talk about sensitive topics. They never stick to one topic, so I do tend to wander because I'm old and I enjoy meandering through shit. Just to get my thoughts straight most of the time. I also stutter, so I do apologise for that. That's just because I'm tired. So that really kicks in when I'm tired. And this being a drive home, yes, I'm going to be fucking tired. Right, the topic for the drive home today, I did do self-abandonment at the last one, so now this is the lead on, which is, I suppose, external abandonment? Other abandonment? I haven't thought of a name for it yet. But it's basically where people, leave you. So, not just a case of stuff that they can do because they just felt like it's usually... there's usually some kind of emotional and psychological core wounds which have developed because of people leaving. It's not just a case of, I'm going away on holiday, look after my cat. This is genuine people that fucked you up. So, yeah. There are several experiences I've had with abandonment. Obviously, I've got some fucked up parents, so they stuck around physically, yes, which to a degree is a blessing, but also the ones that stuck around weren't the best. So I had emotional psychological abandonment. I didn't have my basic needs met particularly well. I was still alive by the end of my childhood, so that was a bonus, I guess. But you ever have those parents that you imagine they're just keeping you alive so they can stay out of prison? Yeah. It's like, do we have to feed it? Yeah. I mean, we did get fed, okay. And we got looked after clothes-wise and shelter-wise and things like that. But coming from a poverty background, it was pretty limited resources we had, obviously. And we obviously they were adapting to what they had. Although it would have helped if my dad had bothered to keep down a job. My mum wasn't physically fucking abusive, so I do have some wounding from both parents. I mean, what do you do with it though? Do you play the victim and say, oh my god, my life's a mess because of my parents? You say, no, I'm going to do the opposite and keep going. So I haven't really got a grasp of how I'm entirely affected by my abandonment wounds. I have been told I have them. I have been told that a lot of my coping mechanisms to deal with the trauma and shit that I went through are a result of abandonment wounds, obviously, because, I didn't have the basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs met, if you ever Googled that image. I had the bare necessities. I had food, shelter, clothing to an extent, but I didn't have anything like the psychological support, the emotional support. Already had a predisposition for ASD, so autism, for those not in the know. So it was going to be a hard job trying to teach me anything like emotions to begin with, but to have parents who reinforced it, to be honest, reinforced emotional detachment, because it was anything like emotional expression wasn't exactly encouraged. My dad didn't like noise, so anything like us having fun or laughing or anything like that was shat on. My mum saw anything that was positive or negative, loud, noise-wise, or expression of emotion-wise, to be non-conformism. Bordering on insurrection, I should expect. You were supposed to do what she said, when she said, and how she said. If there was non-compliance, it wasn't exactly rewarded, it was more punished. So it wasn't completely emotional shutdown. The emotions I was privy to was mainly berserker stuff, a lot of anger, a lot of rage that was directed at us, a lot of frustration, which my parents went through because they were in the poverty cycle. They were not handling it. They were taking it out on us and each other. So, if you listen to my very, very early podcast called Berserker, you'd understand what kind of a childhood I actually had and why I've turned out like I have. I do discuss it quite in depth in that one. It was interesting. So all four of us kids were emotionally abandoned from a very young age. My mom was dealing with a situation where my dad has got Peter Pan syndrome. He doesn't want to grow up, and he still to this day doesn't want to grow up, which meant that he didn't hold down a job. He didn't want to parent us as a father would. He was physical. He thought his version of parenting was to throw money at it, which is what he learned from his dad. That doesn't mean anything, considering he was in and out of jobs and, psychologically unstable. It was a really, fucked up experience. So I have no real connection with my dad, because I still have this image of him in my head of what he was when I was growing up, and it's really uncomfortable to be around him. Same as my mum. It's really uncomfortable to be around my mum. I can hang out with her. I don't like doing it, and if I have to go to the house, I tend to wait till Dad's away. So it's like, can you just... Is he in bed? Is he asleep? Good. All right, I'll come around. And Mum will be like, "Do you want me to go wake him up?" I was like, "Nope, it's good. I'm good. Just let him sleep." But I think, I don't think he actually wanted kids. I think he just went along with the plan. He did, in one argument I remember my parents having when I was growing up, say that he didn't want kids, and that he was doing what my mum said to do, essentially. She wanted kids, apparently. I'm going, are you fucking serious? There's not exactly a maternal bone in that woman's body as far as I can see. It's like, are you sure she wanted them? And somehow she ended up with 4 of them. I'm going, guys, this is weird. But, he just kind of went along with the plan. So essentially my dad was a present sperm donor with berserker tendencies. So that was my upbringing. That was my first contact with what men could be. So my abandonment issue there is to have the first male figure emotionally unavailable to me. So you see that enough times, it becomes the norm, really, doesn't it? You expect men to be emotionally unavailable. It's not natural, because men are amazing creatures. They feel everything. They're just, conditioned to hide it, which is horrible, because, my brother went the opposite way. He is the most warm, nicest guy you'll ever meet, and I love him for it, because growing up, he was our protector. When my dad was kicking off and, holding up against the wall by his fucking collar and shit like that, screaming, blasting him and threatening us, and he was the one that sort of stood in the way and took the hit. So, I owe my brother a huge, huge debt. Although he never called me on it, so I love him for that too. But he was our first protector, which is a bit of a godsend. You have to say the divine intervened there. Because it's almost like they said, well, this one's going to fucking lose his nut mid-40s, so let's send them a good one to defend them. Because he's got 3 younger sisters now. And we needed that protection. We also needed that contrast. Because imagine if you'd grown up thinking all men were like my dad. And it would have been horrible. You would have never trusted. Who was that serial killer? That woman? Oh, Christ. She went on a mad killing spree because she turned into a prostitute and men started, abusing her and shit like that. And she'd had these horrible experiences her entire life with men. You'll know the name when you hear it. I forgot her name. Oh God! But I listened to her story the other day on Netflix. I think it was, or one of those on a documentary on YouTube. And she had some horrible experiences. And there was never anyone, so I saw, that was able to contradict what men should be. And so she saw one man doing this or several men doing this and just assumed everyone was doing this that was male, which is horrible. I know, thanks to my brother being available as a ready source of masculinity, that men are not like that, and that is just one particular man who was a bastard. And he was mentally unstable. I swear it was it. We were trying to nail it not the other day, but a few months ago, whether it was bipolarism or BPD, or schizophrenia or some shit like that. We were trying to figure it out between us, because my sisters and I are still dealing with the fallout of the trauma. There's a dickhead on a bike. Anyway, ooh, fat boy wheels. Anyway, no. So we were trying to figure it out. And we were just between us, we were agreeing that we were lucky that we had a brother who didn't turn out like him. He turned out more like my granddad, Fred. He's a very gentle guy, was a very gentle guy, and I'm glad he turned out that way. But, you know, my father figure was abandoning us, if not attacking us, from a very young age. So when it comes to my trust issues, sorry, my stutter's kicking in. When it comes to my trust issues, when it comes to men, see, this is what we discussed in therapy, is like, my stutter gets worse when I talk about deep-rooted shit. Go and do therapy. It's so much fun. You figure out where all your quirks come from. It's your brain dealing with the trauma still. You know, what, 20 years later, 30 years later? Yeah. It apparently it translates into bodily dysfunction as well, so like aches and pains and stuff. But anyway, it's fun. But, oh shit, lost my track now. Ooh, they're gonna have an accident. Sorry. Squirrel mentality. So when I know I talk about, one of my podcasts, I talk about how I found my husband and whether I consciously or subconsciously chose him because he was tall and broad and he presented a protective figure to me. He's a 6'1" South African. He was pretty alright when he was younger, you know, he wasn't such an asshole. But he's like, either consciously or subconsciously, I chose him to be the next protector of me, and I allowed myself to enter into a situation where I could be manipulated because of my parents' preconditioning through people-pleasing to comply with what he wanted me to be. At the start, it wasn't too bad because it was all new and we were young kids. But in the end, he abandoned me emotionally and psychologically as well, because obviously he wanted to get his dick wet and have an open marriage, and I'm like, no. But my first conditioning of the masculinity was through my dad. And then came my brother, and then came my ex-husband, and then came my ex-boyfriend. And so it's like, it's this snowballing effect of men after men, supposed men, males after males after males after males that have shown me why I can't trust males. The only one I could trust was my brother, and even now he's under thumb with his ex-wife, with his current wife, I should say. He hasn't got an ex-wife. How's that for a Freudian slip? But he's under thumb with her at the moment because he is a people-pleasing. She is like one of these, you know, pretty sterile German women. Not entirely horrible, but there's a certain manipulation going on with that woman. I'm not happy with it because I can see her, you know, she whinges and whines and nags until she gets what she wants. And he does things, he treads on eggshells to avoid her shit, essentially. But that's his people pleasing coming in because he wants to be the protector still. He thinks he needs to protect this woman, but this woman is a passive aggressive bitch. So it's like, you're fighting your own fights, dude. I can't help you there, but and he might get fed up at one day because he is, you know, he is slow to anger and he's a very chill guy, but when he goes, he goes. And I can understand fully. He's never gone at me or any of my sisters, but when he goes, he goes. I can understand why. And you never fucking prod the bear, do you? Don't be dumb. People are asking for a fight. But he's such a lovely guy. I can't understand why she drags on him so much and is nagging and it's wearing him down and he emotionally eats. So he's getting quite big because of this. It's constantly dragging on the soul. And he's abandoning himself in that regard. And she might abandon him eventually if she fucks off back to Germany with the 2 kids, which is what he's intensely afraid of, to be honest. So we had this discussion a few months back as well, before he went away on his last trip with her. He's afraid of losing the girls because he's got 2 little girls. One of them's a newborn, the other is 3. Oh Jesus, I lose track. They grow too fast. She's about just a thigh height, I would say. Is that a unit of measure? She's a gorgeous little kid. Looks exactly like him. She's a mini him. Unmistakably his. But you know, it's the draw card she's got to get him to do what she wants him to do. And if she says, you know, we're fucking off to live in Germany for a year, he has to go, because if he doesn't comply, he's worried about her taking the girls over and not coming back. It was this big in-depth conversation, and I hope I never have to be in those circumstances, because if it was my kids, I'd lose my shit. And it's a pretty hard fight, and it's a fight I don't think I'll ever have to do. But honestly, if I ended up with a guy that has to go through this fight, I would definitely stick with him. I would honestly need to know all the circumstances of it. I wouldn't just blindly fight. But at the same time, you know, it's a horrible, heart-rending kind of thing to have to go through. And we don't know the circumstances entirely. So, but I've met her, and I've spent years understanding her, and I got to know her a bit more. And I don't, if she tried to pull that shit, I'd definitely back my brother. She's not exactly the most warmest mother thing. She's very standoffish for a mum, by my standards. I don't know, maybe I'm doing it wrong. But, you know, they get left to themselves a lot, and it bugs the shit out of me, because the kid will be crying and I'll be like, why aren't you picking it up? Go pick it up. So it's a natural inclination, if something is hurt or crying or upset, you go fucking pick it up. You don't just leave it to cry it out. It's like, no, this is how you detach from your emotions. This is how you just bail on feeling anything, because the kid suddenly becomes, you know, aware that my needs aren't being met. My parents don't care about me because you're not attaching yourself to me. You're not hearing my problems, even if it's just, you know, crying. And it's horrible. I can't do kids crying because then I start crying. And I'm like, no, stop touching my mother wounds. You know, when a kid is genuine, you can tell when they're faking it, but you can tell when a kid is genuinely upset and is just losing its plot and is frustrated and it's not being able to vocalize what it feels. You can tell. There is something, I don't know if it's a feminine thing or if it's a empath thing or a hierarchy thing, I don't know. But you can tell that it needs to be picked up and touched, because kids rely on touch, weirdly enough. It's their first language. Anything after that, verbal, audible, anything like that is reasoning. It's abstract. They don't really have a depth for it until they're, I want to say about 10. And then it gets more complex as they get older, obviously. But a baby's first language is touch. If it starts crying, it needs to be touched, like if rhythmic patting on the back or something like that, right? Just to know that it's a steady, constant, you know. I'm sitting there patting my knee while I'm doing this. I'm like, yeah. But it's so easy to do, and people just like, why don't you understand this as an instinct? But my mum, I don't think ever had that kind of thing. I don't know if she was supposed to have kids either. My brother's wife is a nurse, so she has the theory side of like the welfare of the child. Whether she has any kind of maternal instinct, I don't really know. I'm not saying she's absolutely cold, I'm just saying that she's, I don't know, man. Like, I wouldn't want her raising me. But then again, I had worse, so, you know, it's like, and I don't know if that's just like my response to not having that maternal figure that I now overcompensate by expecting, you know, mums to do more. I know, she's had 2 and she's very tired and busy probably, I don't know, but if a baby's crying, I'd pick it up. I don't care whose kid. It's like, I don't give a fuck. This is a random woman picking up my baby. It was crying. How can you leave it on the floor crying? Absurd. It just doesn't make sense. So, you know, that was my mum. When it came to us having problems, most of the time we just kept away from her. There was no sort of transfer of information. Growing up, it was us kids against the grown-ups, because they're abusive. The kids stuck together stronger than the parents did. Like, our relationship as siblings was better than their marriage. So we sort of banded together and banded brothers kind of shit. To just, if they were fucking us up, like my sister and I would, you know, pull pranks on my dad or something like that. It was actually quite funny. I won't say which one of us used to do it, but one of us used to, you know, fuck around with Vegemite in his underwear. But anyway, does it burn? Who knows? But it was, you know, my younger sister and I, because we were fed up of it. My dad was constantly fighting. He was never trying to make any kind of emotional connection. Anything that was, you know, attempted, like they used to sign me up for things like sport. I'm not that's kind of way inclined. I'm not team sport inclined. I'll do weights and yoga and Pilates. I fucking love that shit. But team sports, I don't do the social shit, and that's ASD. I'm happy with my siblings. That's about as big a crowd as I get. Like, I got I grew up with brothers and sisters, or a brother and sisters. That's enough. That's 4 kids in a house, that's cool. Any more of a crowd, I'm like, this is getting weird. I cannot stand crowds. I fucking hate them. Don't you feel claustrophobic? These fuckers are always around. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's too much trauma. I don't know. But, it's just never been something that, I've sought out. I've never sought out crowds. I don't know if it's like an intimacy thing or I just don't trust people. And I don't trust people, I know, because, my foundations were fucked up. I trust my siblings to a degree. I trust my brother the most. My sisters can be a bit rough. Obviously, we were given different upbringings from my brother. My brother had the shit kicked out of him, to be honest. He was the eldest, and ADHD. He was Bart Simpson, let's put it this way, or at least he idolized him. I was Maggie because I didn't talk. My youngest sister didn't exist, and my older sister wasn't bright. Oh, my dad didn't treat her like she was intelligent. She is bright. She's bright in her own right. She's just not academic bright, which is, my dad severely looked down on her for because she couldn't do maths. I can't fucking do maths, but I can do everything else. Some people just not that way inclined. It's as cool. That's all right. We all got our strengths. But my sister went to him for help with maths, and he's an accountant, and that's the biggest fucking stupid thing. I'm sorry, he's like, you fucked that one up. You walked onto that one, dude. But he would just blast us, like emotional, psychological abuse. It's like, you're fucking useless, you couldn't do anything, and that constant generic cliche comments that come from a narcissist. And you're sitting there thinking, this is just insane. And this is why she has low self-esteem. She's definitely a people pleaser. She's latched onto her husband. She's got 2 kids with him. The kids are teenagers now. But she has anxious attachment, and it's obvious. Because she's afraid that if she doesn't make this guy happy, he's gonna berserker like Dad did. My dad's a pain in the ass for setting us up for a fall. I don't know what the theory behind it was. I mean, my mum raised us for toughness. But along with that came the sort of Spartan functionality over emotion. So she wanted us to emotionally disconnect so that we could progress further functionally. If you start feeding too much into your emotions, this victim mentality comes up where, oh, it's too hard, or oh, I can't do it, or why are they picking on me? She wanted us to override that because, looking at my dad, she's saying, I need to raise girls. This is my theory. I need to raise girls that are capable and can function on their own regardless of whether one of these fuckers turns up in the future or not. And I, funny enough, did date one. But I turned against it rather than, rather than going, oh, this is what my mom had and so this is good enough for me. If anyone's met my ex-boyfriend, there's a lot of my dad in you little shithead. And that's what turned me against you. And it's like, I've seen this pattern before. Will I want to relive it for the next 40 years? No. Will I want to hang around when he has his midlife crisis and goes full fucking berserker? No. So bye. That was one of the greatest things the universe ever gave me was that exposure to that kind of a male early on to know for sure this ain't the one. This is not it, because this is your dad. To be honest, he was a mixture of my dad and my granddad Bob, who was like a man-ho, and a bit of my ex-husband as well, I have to say, but not the good bits. So, it's just, as I said before, if you've listened to my other podcasts, it's like this guy was either the love of my life or the final boss before I meet the love of my life, right? He's that kind of guy. He's like, and I've defeated that fucker, so no, bring it on. Where's my soulmate? Or my twin flame? I don't know. I'm still looking into that theory, twin flame theory. Because he could be my twin flame, but he's like a false twin flame, or like he's not ready twin flame. But having read the cards, and I know this is going a bit abstract now, back into the ether where I live. I do live in it most days, actually, tell the truth. No drugs needed. This is so natural. But, it's twin flame theory is like the person who you end up with as a twin flame will reflect the parts of you that need to heal. Now that could go one of two ways. It could be that they mirror the sad parts of you, or they make you act in a way that is really not good for you, so you force yourself to heal those parts. This fucker was a karmic, for sure. If you listen to my podcast about karmics, that's a karmic. That is the amalgamation of all the masculine entities in my life that have fucked me over, and in one human, but like a weakened version. It's like vaccines, you know? It's like, you've had the main vaccine, you've had it up until the age of, 33. Here's the booster, you know? Do you still want it? Are you still gonna get sick? No, I'm fucking not. It's like, do you want another one? Fuck no. I have not got the disease this time. I'm definitely immune to this one. So when the real one comes along, I can recognize that this is the real one, because he doesn't act like the other ones. And he is going to be, in twin flame theory, he will not be what I usually date, apparently. And I'm going, well, who do I know that that's like? He's like, I don't know. I was like, he's not you. They keep saying, it's like, he's not going to be your usual type. And I'm like, what the fuck is my usual type? Man whore. Right, okay, so he's going to be monogamous. He's going to have manners. He's going to give a fuck about me. He's going to be self-sufficient. I won't have to wipe his ass. Oh my god, this sounds like an ideal guy. Where do I find one of those? I don't know. Which is why I hold out hope for certain individuals. I'm like, you are showing promise. Please, please, please don't be an asshole. Right? It's like, I want to believe that somewhere out there is someone. I am a romantic. I do hold out hope. Anyway. So, I've had a series of guys abandon me. So to say that I'm immune to abandonment wounds is insane. No one is immune to abandonment wounds. People who profess to love you, like my ex-husband, he used to tell me every day, every morning before he left for work, I love you, I'm going to work. Yes, I had to hand him his coffee and his fucking protein bowls, hand rolled, fucking little asshole. Oh my god, kale and raw garlic in a veggie shake, don't do it. I'm just saying, it's fucking foul. Ugh. Anyway, so I'd hand him his coffee and he'd get his little gym bag and go off to do his boot camps or whatever, and whoever, it seems, from memory, now retrospect. But that was betrayal in itself, and that was abandonment. Now that might have triggered some kind of abandonment in me, but it was one that I managed to heal, because at the moment I am really able to see that whatever that was codependency. I can identify my part in it. I know how I enabled it and encouraged it, and I sat in it because it was comfortable and familiar, but it was not good for me. I found the alternative route. I know the way out. I've left and I've healed that part of me. There was a time when I couldn't live without him. I couldn't, because he was everything to me, and I do tend to love that way. I'm whole-souled in there. I don't fuck about. I don't do the umming and ahhing, Knight of Wands, fuckboy, here today, gone tomorrow shit. I'm all in when I'm in. I know that. I'm just designed that way. That's, unfortunately, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing if I find the right one, right? Because it's like, we're going to be together till we die. It's a curse if I keep running into fuckwits like my ex-boyfriend, right? Who just want to hit it and quit it. And you're like, why do you keep coming back? Because the hitting is good. And I'm like, no, you think I'm an idiot. I'm emotionally nice. It's wrong. I'm too nice. I need to be horrible. I need to be like Danielle. I went to school with a girl called Danielle, and she had the nicest boyfriend. He was so golden retriever. Is that what they call them these days? Blonde hair, blue eye, gorgeous cherub looking face fucker. She was a troll. But she treated him like shit. I mean, they got divorced. They had like several kids, and he eventually got the balls to leave her. But he was like the nicest guy, but he was always following her around like a fucking puppy. And she was a bitch. It's like, do I need to be like that? Is that what you need me to be? I need to be an asshole to get one of these good guys? And then, I don't know, I'll do the old switcheroo, and then suddenly I can be myself again. And we can go to movies and eat chocolate and shit. It's like, wait. And then he'll catch on and he'll be like, wait a minute, you're meant to be an asshole. I'm like, oh no, my mask. It's like, I failed again. And then he'll leave me for some bitch. I don't know. Is there a pattern I'm not picking up on? I might be. I don't know. I can't do the mean girlfriend thing. I'm too invested emotionally into it. I want to be there. It's a problem. Even when they're a fucking bastard, like the last one, I still want to be there, and I don't know why. It's like, isn't this lovely? He's cheating on you. Oh yeah, but that's just I don't know why they do that, but they've been doing it since I was 16, so now I'm 38. I'm sure that's just something that could be baggage. I don't know, yours or mine, I don't know. But I'm trying my damnedest not to get another one of those. I don't want them. I'm so tired of these shitheads. I don't know why I can't find another version of my brother that isn't blood related to me, you know? I just, and that sounds a bit weird, but he's my only point of reference for a guy that isn't a complete fuck up. So I'm going, what is this? And I've known ins and outs of him, absolutely. He would never cheat, he would never lie. He doesn't, no, tell the truth, he lies. He does lie, but he lies about getting McDonald's. You know, it's like, how is that a horrible lie? It's like, I stopped by and I got a McDonald's. Don't tell Steph. I'm like, oh, I'm going to tell her. No, I'm not. I'm always on his side. I'm sitting there going, you get a McDonald's, mate. Whatever makes you happy in this miserable oblivion. She's a bitch and I don't like her. Anyway, but it's that horrible, yeah. They got a weird dynamic. She's constantly digging at him. She digs at him and he's an emotional eater, but she won't see that. So the more she digs at him, the more he eats, the bigger he gets, the more she digs. It's stupid. This is a toxic cycle. He can't break it because he's fucking cuddly, man. I love that about him, but it's like, if I had a guy that was an emotional eater and that was the only thing that was wrong with him, I'm like, fuck it, dude. I would love that. I will sit beside you and eat that shit. Let's do this. We're gonna get so fucking round. I've already been fat. I know what to do. I can do this with style. But, you know, that's the worst thing he's got. And he has a temper, but it takes so long and so much to drag it out of him. And he doesn't have a hair trigger temper at all. He's the most placid, fluffy, nice guy. I've seen him get angry once, maybe twice in a lifetime. He's just never angry. And most of the time it's like, because people got bad manners or they've just been rude. And I'm like, well, that's fucking relatable. So it's like, why are you an asshole? Because they did this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck them. So he's one of these guys that can instantly get you on side. And it's like, it's not because he's not conniving little bastard, because he's just so nice. You know, he's like the Keanu Reeves kind of guy. He's like, you're just like, I don't even know you, but you've got an aura about you and you're just fucking nice. So we're going with this. It's like, I want to be your friend. And I was lucky to have him as a brother. I've got siblings, which are sisters, which are hardcore. They are hardcore. My older sister used to get kicked out of pubs because she was overly aggressive. My younger sister is just feisty. I came out the weird one in the middle that's selective mute and can't talk to people. And I shoved my younger sister in front of me and she does the talking for me. But she seems to fail to notice that I've outgrown that now. So she still talks for me, even though she's only 2 years younger than me. 36. I'm 38. But now it's like a case of, I can speak for myself. Okay? Don't sign me up to shit. Stop signing me up to shit. It's like, my friend said you're coming with us. It's like, I'm not coming with you. Stop signing me up to shit. That's the downside of selective mutism. She still thinks I haven't got a grasp on it because I didn't talk when I was younger. And I didn't talk well into when I was in public. Like, I was hanging out with my ex-husband when I was 17 to 20 still, and I was all right. I was happy with him doing the talking. I'm still happy with him doing the talking. Like, if I'm with a guy, it's like, if we're going to a social place, I'm happy to sit in the background, just, you know, like hang on to your arm or something. I'm weird. I know. It's like, I'm not the talking kind. I'm, to be honest, from experience recently, I'm the napping kind. We sit in a pub and I pass out because I'm tired because I've been to the gym and worked all day. It's like, I'm having beers. They're already a sedative. I don't drink now, but when I was drinking, beer's a sedative. Of course I'm going to fucking fall asleep. I'm tired. That's why Netflix and chill is so fucking amazing, because you can just sleep. Perfect. Love it. Spooning's one of the best things you can ever fucking do if you get a chance. Doesn't even have to be like sex. It's just nice to spoon and shit. People underestimate it because like, oh, Netflix and chill, you're going to get laid. It's like, well, actually, I'm going to pass out in the first 10 minutes of Lord of the Rings again, as usual, unless you keep me awake in some kind of magical, orgasmic way. But generally, I'm going to pass out after that as well. So put it on. I'm into it. That's probably why I get slightly aroused by the theme song, you know? So, ooh, something magical's happening. No, that's you. Okay. But that was my ex-husband. Anyway. Abandonment. Sorry, I'm tangenting today like motherfucker. External abandonment. Let's stop talking about me. Let's talk about other people. Okay. What can we do when we feel abandoned? Okay. That's probably a more constructive thing because I can waffle all day. What can you do? You need to find some kind of self-worth, obviously. I do talk about the previously abandoning yourself. If you abandon yourself, it's mainly based on low self-esteem or not feeling like you have any value to contribute, so you sacrifice yourself for the needs of someone else. Not in a good, productive, noble kind of way, but more in a case of I'm afraid to let go of that person, so I'm gonna, let them treat me like shit. So they stay, because if I don't have someone, I don't have anyone. Then you have yourself. You keep forgetting that you have yourself. Still, you're stuck with this body, and if you latch onto someone else and the desires and needs and demands of them, you make yourself liable. You have to be accountable for your own actions, and if you take on theirs by sacrificing yourself, then whatever shit happens to them happens to you too. People tend to forget that. The amount of things like people going into business deals with an asshole doesn't know how to manage his finances, and then them getting sucked down too, because you made yourself dependent on that other person. Maybe even codependent financially, who knows? It's like, do you just not have a strength for financial management? I don't know. Some people don't. Some people are a bit hopeless. I had Bob growing up, so it's like Bob knew money, I knew money, so I was his favorite, so he taught me a load of shit. Not exactly kosher shit, but shit nonetheless. But what can you do? You need to find self-worth. You need to build up your own self-esteem. Know that you are absolutely capable. You're worth something. You can do it. You don't need other people. You don't need other people to tell you the fuck you are and what you're capable of. That's why I get pissed off when girls sleep around, because I'm like, no amount of spreading your legs is going to add value to you. Not unless you work in or own a brothel or something, right? It's. They think, oh, if guys, get to sleep with me, or it'll be great because or girls even, because there's fuck girls too. People who just sleep around for updates. It gives me the shits. It doesn't go anywhere. They will use you and leave. That's the whole game. You think you're having some kind of grand mastermind scheme, mind game thing going on. It's like, no, you're just. I mean, you got to be pretty stupid to involve yourself in that, but it's like, how do you not see it? But it's just getting used. There's no trick to this. You're dumb. They're slightly dumber. Act accordingly. What should we do? Jam nuggets together. Okay. It's like there's no trick skill to this. There's no seduction really. Seduction's gone out the door as soon as you flick in a Viagra. It's like, wow, this is really dampen the mood. What's that? It's drugs. No, it's Viagra. Oh my god, we're so old. Okay. My hips, they don't lie. Fuck you, Shakira. Yes, I am that old. I do remember the original Shakira songs. You Gen Z, you don't know what you had. So she was hot when he first started. She was. I went for her. I'm like, ooh, Shakira. Nice. And then she got weird. And I'm like, ooh, tax evasion. Not nice. Anyway, I'm tangenting. Shits and giggles. So we don't abandon ourselves. We got to build up our self-esteem. How can we do this? By finding interests that you're interested in. Stop relying on other people to entertain you, to make you happy. We do, constantly stress that happiness is a self-initiated thing. And don't just do what I do and say, oh, but making other people happy makes me happy. That's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. That's just codependence. Genuinely find something that you are interested in and makes you happy. At the moment, I was spending last night working on my paintings, and I was just going through my natural ASD stimming, mimicking whatever I heard on YouTube, and I was singing it on my lungs, and I was dancing around in my fucking underwear, and high as fucking coffee, and I was just having the time of my life. It's one of those perks of living alone. You can just be yourself. But, you know, people are afraid of that. I don't know why. I know I look like a dork. I don't care if I look like a dork. I want someone to join in. He's like, come on, man. Let's go get some coffee and shit. I'll get the paint. Make some paint art. Actually, I was using paint pens, but yeah, because it's cleaner. But anyway, that's my OCD kicking in. But I also paint with normal paint. Why are we going on this tangent? I don't know. Anyway. Sit down and shut up. So, you know, it's you got to be yourself. You got to find something that you're genuinely happy about, and a sense of achievement as well. Your achievement shouldn't rely on what other people think of you. You should be happy with what you are in yourself. Luckily, I had that growing up where my parents just didn't give a fuck what I did. No achievement or socially deemed achievement, like getting a degree or anything, was ever celebrated. They turned up to 2 of my photo graduations. I've got 5 degrees. They turned up to 2 of them. Is after that second one, they're like, oh shit, we doing this again? It's like, yeah, and I'm sitting a doctorate. And it's actually, tell the truth, my mom complained when I said I was doing my doctorate. She said, oh, why are you doing that? Why don't you just go get your level 3? It's like, would you stop? It's like, they're not supportive of me. Like, they saw me getting my doctorate as a waste of time. They weren't proud of me. So even from a very young age, this is before, at that point I was willing to tell her to go fuck herself, but because I was like, I'm doing this for me, bitch. But, you know, even growing up, I lost the desire to want to impress my parents. And I found them as I was growing up, even from like 12 years on and on. Like, first 12 years of my life, I was afraid of my parents. Like, deep-seated fear of abuse and all that shit. You know, think quintessential cowering child that, to be honest, I was cowering under vines. Was it vines? No, it was ferns in the backyard. And I would just sit under there for hours and I didn't want to come out. Or I would go and sit in the sand pit. We had like a really makeshift ratchet sand pit, which they buried one of my dogs in, actually, funny enough, later on. Weirdly, we weren't allowed to have a sand pit, apparently. Where are we going to put this corpse? I don't know, you killed it. I get rid of the bodies. I don't erase the bodies. But it's just anything that we had that was achievement wasn't really celebrated. I've still got all my certificates and things from when I was in primary school. I kept them for my sake. My parents didn't give a fuck. I keep them in a file somewhere. I've got them somewhere. But it's all like little tiny comments that my teachers made about how wonderful I was. And if I took them back to my old primary school, I bet they'd lose their fucking mind. It's like, oh my God, you still got these? I'm like, yes. It's the only praise I ever fucking got. Of course I've still got them. But these little, you know, breadcrumbs of affection, even though speaking as a teacher now, we know that they're, you know, it's just an ice cream gesture, isn't it? It's like, lasts for a couple of minutes and then it melts. It's not meant to last, but for some people it fucking lasts. I kept all mine. I've got kids at work making me pictures and shit like that. I kept the pictures. I love my kids. I keep them all. If I had a big enough wall or a big enough fridge, I'd definitely be posting these fuckers up. But at the moment I've got them in a massive scrapbook. Several massive scrapbooks. I've been teaching for 12 years now. But I love my kids. So when they make me something, I keep it. It's insane, I know. I couldn't keep all this stuff. Like if they make me something physical, like, oh Christ, one of them made me a cardboard dinosaur one time. And I'm like, this is too big to keep, dude. I'm sorry, but I love it. So I took a picture instead and I put it on my Instagram. Like, yeah. So anytime anyone sees part of my Instagram where I got like, kids fan mail, it's because they fucking had a good day and they've decided to make me something for it. And I'm like, that's nice, man. I mean, these are things my kids are pouring themselves into. I'm not going to abandon them when they are trying to make the connection. Same as when I get my year ones at the moment. I've got about 3 kids in year 1 who keep telling me they love me. I'm going, okay, first of all, that's not exactly a comfortable phrase for me, given my background, but I know for them it's everything. You got a favorite teacher, and I've been called mum before as well. That was funny, because then they get embarrassed. It's like, don't be embarrassed. It's awesome. But you know, they tell you love, you say it back. Fuck it. I mean, it sounds weird, doesn't it? I mean, I don't specifically say, oh, by the way, yes, I love you in particular. Oh, sorry, doing my security fob thing. You don't single them out. One will say, oh, I love you. And then you say, oh, I love all of you guys. Yeah. You know, if you've ever seen Megamind, the Captain America guy, or the white suit, I don't know what he is, Metro City, I don't know. The superhero guy is like, I love all you fellow citizens. You know, it's that. And you pass that on because I don't want them to feel alien from their emotions. I don't want them to feel like telling someone that they love them is a horrible word or embarrassing or some tragic fucking thing. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe you just told the teacher you love her. It's like, it's not the same kind of love. It's a generalized sort of agape love. It's not the romantic kind of love. It's just sort of like a affection sort of thing. So I'll say, oh yeah, I love all you guys. You're all awesome. And it's like, I love all of you for all your different strengths and all these kind of thing. And you keep it going, because I don't want them to be separated from their emotions. When they get to my age, they're not so emotionally fucked in the head that they can't relate to other people, right? And at the moment, it's an interesting blend of, I've got kids from a better off area, not a great area, but still better off than where I first started teaching. And I've got my kids in my low SES schools as well. So I go both ends of the spectrum. I've got my kids, and when they, like in my low classes, when they say, oh, I love you, Miss, I'm not saying my last name because I'm still working with an alias here. I do encourage it. I'm saying, yeah, I love you guys too, and I missed you guys, and I was, you know, how'd you go on the school holidays, and was everything okay at home, and are you okay? Do you need anything? Is there anything you need? And you notice when one of them is down, you're like, okay, I've noticed that you're feeling frustrated, or you're angry, or you're upset. Is there anything you need? Do you need a hug or anything? Do you need some time out? Do you need to talk to someone? And you keep that ball rolling, because the last thing I want these fuckers to do is shut down in a low SES school, in a low SES area, knowing what they're coming from, because I came from it too, and to just not feel like they can actually relate to anyone, because that's how you sort of internalize all your trauma, and it works on your abandonment issues. Because if you can't talk to someone around you, then you do feel on your own. You can stand in a crowd and feel alone as fuck. You can sit in a pub surrounded by so-called friends and still feel fucking alone, because no one is there to actually feel anything with you. They're just there for light chit chat, or if you're anything like my low social group, backstabbing and bitching and intrigue. But to stand in that crowd and not be able to talk to anyone, not be able to feel anything, and if you've got a problem, not be able to voice it because it might be seen as weak or vulnerable or something like that, it's fucking horrible. I can't imagine staying in that mindset. I'm glad I actually healed that thing, because, you know, if I tell someone I love them, I fucking love them. I told my ex-husband tons of times that I fucking loved him. It was, and I meant it. I don't tell people I love them and not mean it, because it's such a loaded phrase. Just this throwaway, oh, I love you. It's like, well, actually, do you? Because you're going to go fuck your clients. So it's like, I don't know. So, you know, you wonder where your trust issues come from. It's that kind of abandonment. I would rather throw myself out there and actually give everything and risk it than, you know, not try and hold back and make the other person feel like they can't, you know, do the same. They can't give out anything. It's a horrible. See, I'm not going to be the kind of person that wants to abandon people. I hate that shit. I had it growing up. I hated it in my marriage. I had emotional unavailability with my ex-boyfriend. It's like, I'm not doing that. and I work with kids every fucking day. So if I have to contribute to that, I would think I would feel like a piece of shit. I cannot. So this is why I come off as clingy. It's like, why is she still here? Why is she constantly touching that guy with my boyfriend? It's like, no, she's needy. It's like, no, actually, I just know what it's like to not have people give a fuck about you, which is why I give a fuck so much now. I do come off as clingy, I know that much, but I'm very hands-on, and that's my love language, so fuck them. Like the thing at the pub, it's like with the last social group, they're all trying to be these tough, wise kids and shit like that. I'm going, you're 20. You have no money, you have no real problems, but you will do in the next 10 years, so better start feeling your feels now, motherfuckers. Because you're going to be really fucking scarred by the time you get to my age. And I'm like 20 years ahead of them, so I know what's coming. It is going to be worse for them, because the circumstances are going to be worse. Because it's Gen Z. We're millennials, we're facing some fucked up shit. Gen Z are going to have worse fucked up, and the generation after them is going to have more fucked up shit. Possibly worse. We don't know, different contexts, different experiences, but you know, it's like, don't shit on your feelings. Don't encourage abandonment. I don't like that coldness people have now, that me first, me egocentric shit. I think it's residual from the 80s greed era, you know, when everybody was on Wall Street and it's like, you know, cutthroat, me first, I'm gonna get mine and fuck everyone else sort of thing. I hate that shit. I really fucking hate that shit. Because all it's done is left a legacy of abandonment issues where people are, even like parents and grown-ups, are only looking after themselves first. It's like, we were raised by boomers. Boomers came of age in the 80s. I think. I'm pretty sure. No, I was born in the 80s. Yeah, so they were breeding in the 80s. I was 85, so mid 80s. I was born in an era where it was like the height of the me first Wall Street yuppie greed shit. My parents abandoned me emotionally, psychologically, not only because of their background trauma, because also the mindset was cultivated among their generation. Because, you know, if you separated yourself from your feelings, then you could get hurt less, or you could carry on doing the whole, you know, building up your finances and shit like that, and not have the, you know, the guilt or anything associated with hurting someone potentially. Now as a millennial, we're trying to deal with a shitload of internal wounds that these fuckers have caused, but we don't know, and we don't have the tools to fix them, so we're just sort of kind of winging it. Wanging it. Sorry, rude mind. Some of us are. I'm not. Looking at you. But, you know, it's just, you know, we're trying, and we're healing shit that we shouldn't have had to heal in the first place because our parents weren't strong enough to turn around and say, well, that's fucked up, I'm not doing that. Their form of rebellion was to rebel against conservatism, the boomers. Because you came out of the Second World War, you had the conservative 1950s, which was pretty straight-laced and not much feeling in any case. They're a result of the 1950s. My mum was born 57, my dad 55. But it's that tight-laced, you know, platonic kind of sterile family where people are still dealing with the fallout emotionally from the Second World War, and they're passing on to their kids the trauma, and kids are growing up and not knowing how to relate to their kids and the softness and anything, vulnerability, because they were abandoned by their parents who were just trying to get through the fucking war and shit and the aftermath of that. And then they passed it on to us, and we're millennials, and we're sitting there trying to deal with the abandonment issues of our parents because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They had no real skills to develop any kind of emotional vulnerability and connection with us. And then we're looking at our kids, if we've got kids, and we're going, I don't want to pass this on to my babies, man. It's like, I don't want this shit. I don't want you to have to go through the same fucked up shit. So now a lot of people in my generation are sort of overcompensating, and so the kids are coming out a bit brattish, to be honest. There are some that are hitting it on the nail and going, okay, so we're getting average kids, this is all right. We can still talk about feelings and shit like that. But now Gen Z is coming across as a very entitled, over-pumped up generation where we deserve this because our parents have told us we deserve this. It's like, do you though? Because not willing to learn the skills or the humility to get on with life. So that's going to be an interesting wave for the generation that comes after them. I think honestly Gen Z is going to be the next Gen X because they're facing, you know, a similar circumstances where the abandonment is there. Some of us are trying to work on that abandonment wound. Some of us are just like, fuck it, this is what my parents did, so I'm passing it on. A lot of us is trying to heal ourselves while we're trying to raise the next generation. And that's a double joint effort, and it is insane. It is a hard game to play when you're trying to balance yourself when in the back of your head, your parents are going, fucking punch it. It's like, don't punch the baby. It's making noise, get it. I don't think my parents would actually punch a baby. I think they started disciplining it about 5. I do remember that being when they started domestication. Anyway, but there's that, you know, the frustration of having to deal with the abandonment of our parents, the not feeling supported in the outside world, psychological damage that's causing. A lot of us turn to like drugs and alcohol to try and fill that hole, which is just creating more fucking problems because our bodies are dying now. The psych stuff isn't being helped because we're just band-aiding and numbing it, and it's a cycle over and over and over again. A bunch of people dealing with abandonment wounds and not being able to fix it because we can't quite get a grasp of the tools we need to do it. And what it takes is a solid look inside yourself, pinpoint the shit, and dig it the fuck out. They planted something in you when they passed it on. It's like a tumor. It's a horrible, horrible, dark, horrible tumor. And you have to cut it out yourself. No one's going to be able to do this for you because you're not going to let anyone in to do it. You've got so much fucking armor up. You've got to get in there yourself, self-surgery, face it, understand it, know it, try and put a label on it if you can, name it, I don't know. And you're going to have to dig it out yourself. You know, think like shrapnel in war. We're in war. You've got to go in and get that shit out yourself. No one's coming to help you. You're in the middle of fuck knows bumfuck where. You've got a Bowie knife and that's about it, motherfucker. And you've got a very hack medikit. So this is what we're working with. You're going to have to dig it out yourself. Stop relying on other people. It's like, if I just wait a little bit longer, someone will come around and dig it out for me, and they'll have like a nice stretcher and shit like that. No, because if you leave it longer, you're gonna bleed the fuck out. You're gonna have to do it yourself. It sucks, yes, and it's gonna fucking hurt, and it does fucking hurt. It really fucking hurts, but if you don't dig it out now, it will poison you. It will carry on further into the fucking chest cavity. It will cause so many other fucking problems with the rest of your limbs and your nerves and everything, and psych issues and lead poisoning and all kinds of fucking things, right? If you don't get it out now, it's going to get a billion times worse, and then, you could die. Some people do finally give up the ghost and just fuck it, right? And that's speaking as someone who was a suicide at 17. So, if you don't deal with your shit will become you. It will attack you. Hardcore. I've had to do it several fucking times over because I've been overcoming things like anorexia, fucking child abuse, narcissistic abuse, CPTSD. Apparently it's complex. It's like, well, it's PTSD to me. No, but yours is complex because you've got other comorbidities. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. All I know is that I can't stop crying and everything hurts. So, and I'm ASD, which is also another thing I have to deal with on top of all these extra shit. So it's like, you need to go in and be able to be self-sufficient enough to go and deal with your abandonment. Don't rely on other people to tell you your worth. You know your worth. You've lived your life. You've done it. Fuck them and their opinion and whatever they think you're worth. Because you've sat in your own two shoes and you've lived through it. You know what you've earned. If you sat on your ass, then at least take ownership. It's like, you've done nothing with your life, then at least take ownership. But here's your chance to fucking change it. Don't just sit there blaming other people. My parents were assholes. My ex-husband was an asshole. And this is why my life is spiraling into meth addiction. No, you made those choices. Unless your ex-husband directly inserted... Actually, is it meth injectable? I don't know. Does meth inject? Fuck knows. Unless he's putting the needle in your fucking arm himself, tying you down so you can't fight back. You take accountability. You took the drugs yourself. This is your life. Do you like it? No, then change it. For fuck's sake. Don't sit there whining and bitching about, I feel bad for myself. It's like, I don't know. Some people can do that. Makes me feel sick. But anyway, that could be my mom speaking. So, don't rely on other people. You are valuable. I'm going to go eat some food because I'm really fucking hungry right now. And I've still got to go to the gym tonight. So, abandonment has been a fun topic to discuss. I'm going to try and choose some different topics. Otherwise, hopefully I can find a podcast where I don't just sit there talking about me all the whole fucking time. I feel like Meghan Markle. It's like, oh my God, let me tell you about me. It's like, But that's the thing, is like most of our understanding comes from our own interpretation of reality, doesn't it? But here's where we can compare notes. It's like, I want to know what the rest of the people have gone through. Can we talk about this as an open topic for discussion? What have you felt about this? What have you understood about this? That's why I bother making these. And it sounds like me talking to the ether for a large part of this, because I do talk about my ass a lot. But honestly, I'm intrigued. I want to see what people have gone through. That's why I go to things like Invictus. That's why I go to, I sign up to Beyond Blue and all that shit online, because I want to hear the stories. I want to understand what people are going through, and I want to compare notes, and I want to see if we're doing this right. Is there anything we can change about this? Is it going to be something better in the future? Are we just going to go through the same trauma bonding fucking hazard cycles for the rest of our lives? I want to see the hope and the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Right, I'm going to have to leave it there, though, because I could keep going. No, I need a coffee or something, right? Okay. All right, take it easy, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, no, I won't, actually. I'll see you on Thursday. All right, have a good one.